Hi, my name is Elizabeth Rimmer and I'm the founder for Entrepreneurs. This week I wanted to give you some really practical advice on ways to help your body physically cope with the stress that your mind and spirit are experiencing. So I'm kind of thinking that whatever you're up to, whether you're working on the wards or you're in general practice, you're furloughed, you're working from home, you're managing your family life, you're coping on your own and struggling with loneliness. It's a kind of a relevant topic, I think, for all of us. And, with the threat of COVID-19, I think it's really important not only for us to be sort of coping on a mental, emotional level, but if there is anything that we can be doing to boost our immune systems, then it seems really important as well. So it is a kind of a mindset thing that I'm doing today, but it has got a backdrop, and you'll see what I mean in a minute when I start telling you about it, of that, how that links in with the physical body, and improving the function of our immune system and autonomic nervous system. Okay, so by now I love a slideshow, eh? So here we go. Right, okay, so we're talking about self-care, essentially. And I'm going to kickstart with a definition, because nurses love a definition too. So there are loads of definitions of stress. I picked this one. An organism's ability to adapt to environmental and psychological demand which result in biological changes that either support health or could place you at risk of illness. Okay, so that is my definition. And we know that there's a relationship between stress and health and illness. That's a given. We know that it's really, really complicated, and we know that it's really varied, but it's there, it's a thing. So what I wanted to kind of focus a bit on today was this thing called heart rate variability. And if you're into sports or you're into cardiology, this might be something that you're familiar with. I must say it hasn't been for me until fairly recently, and my link in is the sports side of things. I'm a bit of a gym geek. So basically, heart rate variability is a measurement of the interval between each heartbeat, and it basically helps to indicate the body's ability to respond to stress, and its ability to kind of change gears to sort of different situations. A typical rate is somewhere between 20 and 200, so that's quite a big range, obviously. And unlike a lot of things in life, it's actually the higher the better, okay? So the higher your rate is, it just means that your body has a stronger ability to recover from stress and to respond from lots of different triggers from your autonomic nervous system. And yes, it's becoming apparent that it's an excellent indicator for immune health. There are different ways of measuring it. It can be evaluated from an ECG. Obviously, we don't all walk around with ECGs on. There's various kind of little devices and apps that you can get nowadays that will measure your HRV. There isn't any regulation over this, so you kind of have to take it as a bit of a kind of a guesstimate, I guess. It's one of those things that's a work in progress. So again, this isn't news. We know that there's loads of different things that affect stress in our bodies. We know that chronic stress can have a really bad effect on our immune system, and it can also contribute significantly to getting physical health problems, loads of different health problems. So kind of periods of pent-up anger and frustrations over a long period of time start to cause damage, start to cause physical effects in the body. Again, these are all terms you're familiar with, but in a normal scenario, you'd get exposed to stress, you go into your fight or flight mode. That's usually a kind of a short, shortish episode, from which the body then recovers and goes back to kind of normality. But in periods where you're getting continued and prolonged exposure to stress, the body moves from fight and flight into a second phase, and from there can start to actually cause damage, cause physical damage. And again, you know, we all know there are a wide number of different health problems associated with stress: heart disease, depression, cancer, stomach ulcers, blood pressure. I'm sure you can think of loads more. It's, you know, it's a topic that you could talk about on go down many different kind of rabbit holes. It's enormous. And again, you know, we know that there's loads of kind of things that can affect stress and our ability to cope with it. Again, you know, things like genetics, how much sleep you're getting, how hydrated you are, what exercise you do, what your nutrition's like, environmental exposure, your social support, again, on and on and on and on. You can go with that kind of thing. So today, what I wanted to do was to focus on a kind of real practical session on 5 different ways to increase your HRV, basically. So these are, you know, aside from your typical kind of nutrition, you know, your usual lifestyle stuff, which obviously are really important, but these are kind of focusing a bit more on the wider sort of mindset type thing. So we've got 5 things, all right? One of them, first one, practice gratitude. Second is growth mindset. Third is live your values. Fourth, engage in relationships that bring you value. And the fifth is focus on what you can control. Okay. So practicing gratitude is the first one. So it's not just about kind of being grateful for what you've got, and which is important. And I think, again, especially during this period, I found lots that when I'm feeling sorry for myself, I don't have to look very far to kind of see somebody that's in a worse position than me, and not that you take any pleasure from that at all, but its context is always a good thing. So I think having the ability to, you know, okay, I haven't got a garden. It would be nice if I had a garden, but you know what? I live by a canal. There's swans and ducks and, you know, that kind of thing. But actually, we're just generally talking as well about kind of accessing feelings of kindness. And we know that accessing feelings of kindness will stimulate production of dopamine, which is, you know, the feel-good chemical. And we know, again, that dopamine helps to reduce things like blood pressure, stress hormones, it increases male and female hormones. But there's also some good evidence coming out that saying that there's an indirect role in the immune system as well. So that's another good thing about you know, stimulating your production of dopamine. So things like random acts of kindness, which again I think are just, a lot of these are just kind of thinking about what you do, the way you carry yourself when you go to the shops, things that nurses, to be fair, are pretty good at anyway. But I think being aware that those things aren't just about giving to other people, but they are actually also good for us as well. They are physically good for us, emotionally good for us. So yeah, random acts of kindness can be anything from, you know, super minor to, you know, whatever you want it to be. But I think really we're focusing on the kind of small daily acts rather than the massive grandiose kind of activities. Reflecting on positive experiences means things like not just thinking, oh God, I had a great birthday last year, but actually trying to take time out to think about how it felt in that moment, you know, how it felt to have your friends and family around you on that day, you know, whatever you were doing, and really to try and sort of evoke those emotions and feelings in you. kind of soaking up, if you like, the sort of moment, going over it in your mind. And again, as our friend Jason Fried would say, writing in a journal can just be a way of making time for stuff like that. So that's one thing. And also it can just make you focus more on those positive things. So I do think writing these things down, getting out that journal that I've told you to buy, and using it for this kind of activity can be quite a helpful thing to do.